When we speak of the Greek gods, certain names immediately conjure vivid images. Zeus, the thunderous king; Hera, the majestic queen; Athena, the wise strategist. Then there is Ares, a name often whispered with a shudder, synonymous with the brutal, unthinking chaos of war. He is frequently dismissed as merely a god of violence, a hot-headed brute with little depth. Yet, to truly understand Ares is to delve into the very essence of human conflict, its primal urges, and its devastating consequences. He embodies a fundamental, albeit terrifying, aspect of existence. His story is not one of glory or widespread adoration, but rather a stark reflection of the darker side of human nature. Let us journey into the heart of this often misunderstood Olympian, exploring his myths, his nature, and his enduring cultural significance. Ares was born of the most powerful Olympian couple, Zeus, the king of the gods, and Hera, his formidable queen. Despite his divine parentage, his birth was not celebrated with joy. Both Zeus and Hera often expressed disdain for their son's violent tendencies. He was one of the 12 Olympians, holding a prominent, if often unwelcome, seat on Mount Olympus. His presence was a constant reminder of the destructive forces that even the gods could not fully control. He was a force of nature, untamed and unpredictable. Unlike his sister Athena, who represented strategic warfare and heroic endeavor, Ares embodied the raw, bloody, and indiscriminate slaughter of battle. He reveled in the clash of arms, the cries of the wounded, and the sheer carnage of conflict. Ares is the personification of war in its most visceral form. He is the frenzy of battle, the bloodlust that overtakes soldiers, and the unbridled aggression that leads to destruction. His domain is the chaos and terror of the battlefield. He does not concern himself with tactics, justice, or the reasons for conflict. His sole delight is in the act of fighting itself, the sheer, unadulterated violence. This made him a terrifying figure, even to the other gods. His presence on the battlefield often tipped the scales, not through skill, but through sheer, overwhelming force and a contagious madness. He was the embodiment of war's destructive power, a force to be unleashed rather than controlled. Ares was rarely alone on the battlefield. He was often accompanied by his terrifying retinue, personifications of the very emotions he inspired. His sons, Phobos and Deimos, represented fear and terror, respectively. His sister Eris, the goddess of strife and discord, often preceded him, sowing the seeds of conflict. Ineo, the ancient goddess of destructive warfare, also frequently rode alongside him, reveling in the bloodshed. His attributes were those of a warrior, a gleaming bronze spear, a shield, and a helmet. He rode a magnificent chariot drawn by 4 fire-breathing horses, symbolizing the unstoppable charge of battle. These elements underscored his role as a formidable, if feared, combatant. One of the most famous myths involving Ares highlights his passionate, yet often scandalous, nature. He engaged in a clandestine affair with Aphrodite, the goddess of love and beauty, who was married to the crippled smith god Hephaestus. Hephaestus, upon discovering their infidelity, ingeniously crafted an invisible, unbreakable net. He ensnared the lovers in their bed, then summoned the other Olympian gods to witness their humiliation. This public shaming underscored Ares's often undignified portrayal. During the Trojan War, Ares famously sided with the Trojans, often clashing directly with the Achaeans and their divine patrons. He was even wounded by the mortal hero Diomedes, guided by Athena, a humiliating defeat for the god of war. This incident, where a mortal could wound an Olympian, further emphasized his vulnerability and the often mocking attitude the other gods held towards him. It showed that even raw power could be overcome by strategy and divine intervention. Another significant myth connects Ares to the founding of Thebes. Cadmus, searching for his sister Europa, slew a dragon sacred to Ares. To atone, Cadmus was forced to serve Ares for 8 years. After his service, Cadmus married Harmonia, a daughter of Ares and Aphrodite, symbolizing a union of conflict and harmony. This myth shows Ares's influence extending beyond the battlefield, into the very origins of cities and civilizations. Unlike many other Olympians, Ares received relatively little widespread worship in ancient Greece. There were few temples dedicated to him, and his cult was not as prominent as those of Zeus, Athena, or Apollo. This lack of widespread devotion reflects the Greek attitude towards war itself. While they acknowledged its necessity and the glory of heroic combat, they also understood its destructive and terrifying aspects. Ares embodied the latter. His worship was more prevalent in regions known for their martial prowess, such as Sparta, where military discipline and strength were highly valued. Even there, however, he was often revered more as a symbol of martial spirit than as a benevolent deity. The most striking contrast to Ares's limited Greek veneration lies in his Roman counterpart, Mars. While sharing many attributes, Mars held a far more elevated and revered position in the Roman pantheon. Mars was not merely the god of war, he was also an agricultural deity, associated with spring, fertility, and the protection of crops and livestock. This dual role reflected Rome's agrarian roots and its constant need for both sustenance and defense. Crucially, Mars was considered the divine father of Romulus and Remus, the legendary founders of Rome. This made him a foundational deity, a protector of the Roman people, and a symbol of their martial prowess and destiny. This stark difference between Ares and Mars highlights a profound cultural distinction. The Greeks viewed Ares with a mixture of fear and disdain, acknowledging his power but not celebrating his nature. The Romans, however, embraced Mars as a vital, protective force. Mars's temples were numerous and prominent, and his festivals were significant. He was seen as a benevolent protector, guiding Rome's legions to victory and ensuring the prosperity of the state. This cultural shift is a fascinating study in how different societies interpret similar divine forces. Ares, despite his often negative portrayal, remains a powerful symbol. He represents the raw, untamed energy of conflict, the primal urge to dominate, and the destructive consequences of unchecked aggression. He reminds us that war is not always glorious or strategic, it is often brutal, chaotic, and deeply personal. His myths serve as cautionary tales about the dangers of succumbing to pure rage and violence. In literature and art, Ares continues to appear as the embodiment of martial might, often contrasted with the more reasoned approach of Athena. He is the force that must be acknowledged, even if it is not celebrated. His legacy is not one of widespread adoration, but of profound recognition. He is the necessary shadow, the dark mirror reflecting humanity's capacity for destruction. He is the roar of battle, the clash of steel, and the blood on the ground. Ares, the much-maligned Olympian, offers us more than just tales of divine brawls. He provides a window into the ancient world's understanding of war, its horrors, and its inescapable presence in human affairs. He is a reminder that conflict, in its most primal form, is an inherent part of the human experience. By understanding Ares, we gain insight not only into Greek mythology but also into the enduring complexities of human nature itself. His story, though often grim, compels us to confront the uncomfortable truths about aggression and violence. Ares stands as a timeless symbol of the destructive power that lies within us all, a force that demands our constant vigilance and understanding.